What's going on, folks? Welcome to the latest edition of the Padres EVT podcast. Pleased to be joined by Mr. Jim Callis, longtime friend of the show. We appreciate your time over the years, Jim, and I appreciate your time today in discussing some Padre prospects.
Oh yeah, no, it's always fun talking prospects. Glad to talk.
Let's talk about the Dodgers. Is that something that you can discuss?
Sure.
Not necessarily talking about labor agreements or anything like that, but they're obviously being creative in constructing their team. More obvious, probably the most creative we've ever seen as far as Major League Baseball is concerned with the deferred money. I'd love to hear your feelings on what they're doing, whether or not you think that's good for the game or not.
I have no problem with it. Like they're adhering to the rules.
Yeah.
They're paying a giant amount of money in luxury tax. They're paying a giant amount of money in revenue sharing. Granted, yes. Is their market bigger than most? Yes. Have they maximized their revenues more than, when you count Ohtani in Japan, they probably have as good a revenues as anybody in baseball, but that's taking advantage of their market. It's funny. I look at the Padres, the Padres can't spend what the Dodgers are spending, obviously. But the Padres, for a, middle-sized market, spend aggressively. And, what have we seen? They've done well in the field, and fans are coming out to the ballpark. And I feel like you can, not every team can spend like the Dodgers, but I feel like more teams could spend like the Padres if they wanted to. That are maybe not those giant markets, and you could contend. And if you put a good product on the field, fans will come. So I think the knee-jerk reaction I have friends of mine who are kind of casual baseball fans are like, oh, the Dodgers, this is terrible. Ohtani's making $70 million a year. And I'm like, well, he's not really making $70 million a year. It's $47 million a year in time value money, which is still a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, like in a perfect world, it would be a totally even playing field where everybody was spending the same amount of money on players and everybody had an equal chance to win. Sure. But at the same time, baseball's never been like that. You've always had teams that are very wealthy, and you've had, the St. Louis Browns or whoever barely scraping to get by. And again, I'm not saying that that's optimal, but I don't feel like you have all the rounds of the baseball playoffs. It's not like it's the Dodgers have won the last 2 years in a row. So it looks like, oh my gosh, they're unbeatable. Well, 2 years ago, and I hate to bring this up on a Padres podcast, the Padres were this close to eliminating them and probably win the World Series if they do. It was that close. Yeah. And baseball, is short series, anything can happen. Even the best teams, even if you get the first round bye, have to go through 3 rounds of playoffs. It's hard, which is why, it's funny. The narrative 2 years ago was, as good as the Dodgers are, they can't ever win the playoffs. The only time they won a World Series was during the pandemic. That doesn't count. Right. It's not the season. Right. And now it's the Dodgers are this unstoppable monolith. So it's kind of gone 180. But I don't know. I just think that I get, if I were a smaller revenue team, I'd have concerns about what the Dodgers are doing. But I also think there are teams that could grow their revenues more and spend more if they wanted. And I also think, if fans are being honest, if you were a Dodgers fan or your team had the wherewithal to do what the Dodgers are doing, I think if fans are honest, you'd want your team to do that. The Mets have tried to do that, and the Mets didn't even make the playoffs last year.
Yeah. The Dodgers did that for decades when they in the 80s and 90s where they failed. You made a great point about the Padres kind of providing the groundwork for smaller market teams to get revenue and to become a factor. And I think that's probably the most important thing, is to utilize your ballpark, utilize your resources, and be creative in creating an income stream towards your team that you can put back into your players. And as a longtime Padre fan, I'm content with the fact that this team is competitive now. For a long time they weren't. So that in itself has a lot of value for a fan.
Yeah, and it has a lot of value for the franchise too, because the Padres are drawing around 3 million fans a year, which keeps it kind of it's whatever the opposite of a vicious cycle is. It's a positive cycle where you're winning, fans come out, you're making money, you can put more money into the team. I always talk about, whenever I do a Padres related podcast, it's got to be great to be a Padres fan, because literally every day when you wake up, AJ Preller could have done anything. There's no move he won't make. Like
Right.
anything is in play. Like
Right.
when you I mean, they're not going to trade for Aaron Judge. But like if somebody was going to trade for Aaron Judge, it would be AJ Preller giving up like 10 players to get him or something.
Exactly.
So but anyway, I just think I understand we're fans of small revenue teams want a more level playing field. But like I said, at the same time, I think the Padres are showing teams you don't have to be in this giant mega market to have a very successful team. And, it's not that the playoffs, are a total crapshoot. I mean, talent wins, but in short series in baseball, anything can happen. And if you keep going to playoffs year after year after year, you can make things happen. I mean, the Brewers were very close. I mean, they got wiped out in the NLCS, but the Brewers were one step away from going to the World Series last year. And the Brewers spend in the bottom half of baseball. And I think they've been in the playoffs 7 of the last 8 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not claiming that it's entirely equitable, but I don't agree with the notion that nobody can compete with the Dodgers. Because again, you look at the Mets, who spent however many hundreds of millions of dollars they spent last year, and they didn't make playoffs. So
sure.
like it's not a guarantee that you're going to go to the playoffs or just automatically win. And like I said, 2 years ago, the narrative was, hey, the Dodgers are good every year in the regular season. They can't win like in a full season World Series. And now so we've flipped it to the Dodgers are unbeatable and bad for baseball, which I just don't.
The narratives change seemingly every year, right? I mean, that's just how it goes. Interesting though, because I tend to agree with you that the Dodgers they're doing something special. It's hard to swallow as a Padre fan, but it is what it is. I'd love to talk to you about Mackenzie Gore, someone who both of us share a great admiration for. What did you think about that return that Washington got for his services?
It was interesting. I mean, I think there was a little bit more quantity than quality.
Okay.
We had the night before, we had Peralta went to the Mets for 2 top 100 prospects, and Gore went to the Rangers for 5 prospects. Now the Rangers only had 1 top 100 prospect, and that's Sebastian Walcott, who's I don't have the list for number 7, I think, on our list. And I don't think the Rangers are going to trade Sebastian Walcott in just about any deal. So I wasn't surprised if they're making that trade with the Rangers. They didn't get a top 100 prospect because you only had 1 guy to get. I do know Gavin Feen, who they got, was kind of the primary guy in that trade. Gavin Feen was one of the better high school hitters in last year's draft, 12th overall pick. And the first thing I thought of, because I had to do so much draft stuff, is the 3 teams that were really on Gavin Feen last year. I thought he was going to go to one of 3 teams, 10 to the White Sox, 12 to the Rangers, or 15 to the Red Sox. Yeah. Well, the guys who were running the Red Sox draft were Paul Taboni and Devin Pearson, who are now in Washington. Right. So I wasn't really surprised. Like, they probably value Gavin Feen as much as anybody. And I know those guys think he's one of the best bats in last year's draft. And some of the other guys were, all the guys in the trade were interesting in their own ways, but it just doesn't, I think, resonate if you're a Nationals fan, like, oh, we didn't get 2 top 100 prospects, like the Mets did last night. Like, I'd rather you have more, I think, control over Gore. You can argue over who's more valuable if you think Peralta is better than Gore, but you have more control over Gore, or how you want to do that. I would rather have Gore and for more years. But the Nationals took a different approach than the Brewers did when they were trading Peralta. And to be fair, the Brewers are also trying to contend, and Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat are 2 guys who are not just top 100 prospects, but are close to helping in the big leagues. And in the Rangers trade, I don't think any of those guys that went to the Nationals are necessarily going to, contend to make the Nationals opening day roster, be up in the first half of the season. They're more longer-term plays.
Yeah, it fits their competitive window, right? More when they're planning on getting back towards winning.
It really, I have to say, James, it was really kind of like the Yu Darvish trade, like way back when, which was 5 years ago, when the Cubs traded Yu Darvish for, I can't remember if it was 4 prospects or 5. I think one of them had made their pro debut in the DSL, but it was all rookie level guys. Owen Casey hadn't played in the draft. And they went for the quantity over quality trade at the time too. Although that was they were looking to save payroll. What was the primary goal or one of the primary goals for the Cubs that year too.
It's interesting when you see some of these teams trade for these lottery tickets. Like Reginald Preciado was the name that went, I believe, to the Cubs. Highly touted international guy, but it's really struggling to even. I don't even know if he's gotten out of single A. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast when you're trading for a 16 or 17-year-old. You just really don't know what you have.
We were talking about international players. We didn't actually talk about it on the air when we did our Pipeline podcast today, but we were looking at the 15 and under USA Baseball rosters from 4 or 5 years ago, which essentially would be like if you're doing an international list, but with domestic players. And I think Connor Griffin was on it, and there was maybe one other top 100 prospect on it now. And like most of the guys, you're like, oh, what happened to that guy? Or, oh, he went to college and he's not real great. Like, it's hard to project 14, 15-year-old players,
for sure,
what they're going to look like 10 years down the line.
Oh yeah, I do not envy your job, Jim. You are very good at it, and it's a difficult process for sure.
It's fun. I was going to say real quick, we have it easy because we take a lot of pride in trying to get things right, and we talk to a lot of people. But if we're wrong, I'm not getting fired because MLB.com went 60 and 102, and they don't like our talent. Like we try to be accurate and be sensitive to the fact that like our rankings are reflecting, I guess, what we think of the job all the teams are doing. But it's not easy, but I'm also not going to get fired if somebody looks back at our draft list from 2018 and go, what happened here? This is not good.
Yeah.
You're gone. So
there's nobody keeping stats on your guys's, right? At least
we go back and look and try to learn from it, but it's just the nature of whether you're looking at the draft or international or minor league prospects. It's not just, hey, feed a bunch of numbers into an algorithm and it tells you who's going to be good. You just don't know. The best prospect in baseball right now, Connor Griffin, when he was in the draft, he went 9th overall to the Pirates 2 years ago. And I think there was one team ahead of the Pirates, which was the White Sox, who would have considered drafting Connor Griffin. We had a number of teams be like, that swing's just not going to work. He's not going to hit a pro ball. And now Connor Griffin's the best prospect in baseball like a year later. So it's tough.
It definitely is. It's definitely tough. Let's move on to some Padre prospects if we could. Someone who obviously came really hyped, and that's Ethan Salas, who's struggled the last 2 years. We were just talking about prospects that have, reached that pinnacle, was a top 100 prospect at one point. He's not even on the list now. Give me your thoughts on Ethan Salas. Obviously, he's a catcher, and it takes a little time to develop, but give me your thoughts on Ethan Salas.
Yeah, I think – like, we don't have him on the top 100. He was in the discussion. I think he just needs time to catch his breath. The guy, it's hard to know what to make of him because on one hand, injury, he missed most of last year with a stress reaction in his back, and there's not much you can do about that. I do think, I don't know if they would say this. I don't do our Padres list, so I don't talk to a lot of Padres player development people. But I do feel like if the Padres are being honest and you let them go back in time a couple years ago, maybe they don't put him in Double-A, the year they sign him. And maybe they don't put him in high A, like his first full professional season. You kind of let him ease into pro ball a little bit. Because as talented as he was and as advanced as he was, that never made sense to me. And so the bat kind of stalled out after he got out of single A, which makes sense because he was so young. And then he was banged up and hurt. And so he kind of lost most of last year. I just think, if you're putting grade on it, it's almost like an incomplete. I don't think we really know exactly what he is because he's been playing either pretty advanced competition compared to his experience and/or been hurt. It's hard to know what to make. And now look, he's still really athletic. He still looks like a Gold Glove catcher back there. He's still one of the best defensive catchers in the minors. There's still all the athletic and physical traits that you thought were going to translate into offense. But he's the guy, I think, if anybody's being honest, he's trying to evaluate him. The answer is you don't know, just because there hasn't been he's never really played at a level commensurate with his experience, and he's been hurt. And so I don't know. I don't know what the plan is, and I don't know what his health is as of today. I assume he's going to be healthy going into 2026. The best thing for him probably be to go to high A or even single A, even if it goes to single A for a month and let him hit, and then maybe send him to high A. Because they moved all the teams. Is their high A team still Fort Wayne?
Their high A team is Fort Wayne, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to send a guy who had back problems last year to the Midwest League
where it's cold, right?
In April. I live in Midwest League territory. It is cold. So anyway, I'm just saying, I would kind of let him go tear it up, maybe even in single A for a month or so, and just build his confidence up and let him get going because he's still, what is he, 19 years old, 20?
Yeah.
He's still super young. So anyway, I still have hopes for him. It's been such an odd career path that I don't think anybody really knows what to make of it so far.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. He just needs time and just to kind of catch his breath, like you said. Just it's been a whirlwind for him. They were a little aggressive with in promoting him, and that seems to be the Padres' way. But in this case, it kind of I don't want to say damaged him, but it kind of just had him slow down with his development for sure. Let's move on to a left-handed pitcher, Cash Mayfield, who I saw in Lake Elsinore last year. Was very impressive. Battled a little nagging injuries here and there, but what are you feeling on Cash Mayfield right now?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how, like, so right now the Padres only have one top 100 prospect, and we'll probably talk about him in a second. But like, I think Cash Mayfield's one of those guys who could jump on the list this year. He's, obviously the first round pick the year before, one of the best lefties in the draft in 2024. Like, he pitched 60 innings last year, which is fine. He looked good. I mean, he overpowered hitters in single A. The Cal League can be a little bit of a hitter's league too, and he performed very well. So I look at it as a positive year. He missed a little time, but at the same time, as a guy coming out of high school, you weren't going to pile 120 innings on him either. So I think the Padres have to be pretty pleased with his development. Cruz Schoolcraft is our one top 100 Padre, but I think you got Ethan Salas knocking on the door. I think you got Cash Mayfield knocking on the door. I think Mendez is knocking on the door too. Yeah. Like, they have some guys who are pretty interesting.
Yeah, they definitely have some decent young arms. Let's move on to Schoolcraft and what I'm anxious to see him in Lake Elsinore this year and see what he brings to the table. I know that he's highly regarded as well.
Yeah, I mean, we might look back, like we look back at the year that they drafted James Wood, in the 20. I'm sorry. They drafted Jackson Merrill in the 20s. They got James Wood in the second round and be like, wow, those were two steals. And Cruz Schoolcraft could be a steal too. Like, was he a little inconsistent as a high school senior? He was, but he was a 6'8" kid who turned 18 in April. So, like, you know what? He's not going to have, he's athletic and has good body control, but like, there are going to be days where he's out of sync and trying to get everything lined up. But like, you're talking about a guy who could have his highest ceiling is just about anybody in the draft. I mean, he could be 3+ pitches, 6'8", low release height, flat plane, wide angle, very tough. He's also, he's going to be a full-time pitcher, but he was a promising two-way guy who was a pretty interesting hitter, power hitter as well. He was one of my favorite players in the draft. And it's funny, they didn't have a large bonus pool. And I initially was like, how are they going to sign Cruz Schoolcraft? Like, if they take him and he wants over slot, is that going to be tough? But they got him signed for slot. Again, you get drafted in the first round, slot in a lot of cases is going to be so much money, it's hard to turn down. Yeah. I just thought they did an excellent job getting him. Like, he's one of the guys I'm most excited to see, like, not just Padres, but anybody in terms of how they do in pro ball. Like, I'm very curious to see how they do in 2026.
Yeah, they have a lot of arms like that. I'd like to talk about a couple more in Ryan Weidman and Michael Salina, who were drafted by the team, high upside pitchers. Give me your thoughts on those two, if you could, real quick.
Yeah, Weidman's interesting. He's an outfielder, and he was a hard guy to figure out because he had some of the best tools in college baseball last year. He's 6'5". His dad's a former college basketball player. 6'5", 204 pounds, plus raw power, plus speed. Mm-hmm. The tools are more advanced than the skills. He's kind of raw in the outfield at times, although he can really run and make up for mistakes. His chase rates and ground ball percentage were among the worst in Division I. So he put up huge numbers. I think he was the first player, I'm looking at my notes from last year, in NCAA Division I with 35 extra base hits and 45 steals in the same season in 24 years. And they play 56 game regular season. So those are huge numbers. And he put up huge numbers at Western Kentucky. But like I said, the chase rates were off the charts. He hits a lot of ground balls. That's not the highest level of competition. You're not in the SEC. Sure. So he's interesting, super interesting guy. Like, I'm actually very curious about him because if you were just looking at the tools in a workout setting, you'd be like, man, this is great. And then if you talk to some analysts, they might be like, I'm not sure about some of the data on here. So we'll see. He's very interesting. If he could get more selective at the plate, he'd be interesting. Okay. And then Salina was at St. Bonaventure, and he got hurt, and he had Tommy John surgery. So we didn't get to see a full season out of him. But, like, there's more upside than your typical fourth-round pick. Like, he had mid-90s fastball. I think he hit 102 before he got hurt. And he's got really good extension. He's a 6'1" guy who gets down the mound well. He's got some power to his slider and some depth. So he's interesting too. So, like, both those guys are kind of interesting in that you can dream big and there's also risk. So, which again, we're talking about AJ Preller team. Like, that's the way AJ and his guys like to roll. Like, they will bet on ceiling, and you're not going to hit on every guy, but the guys you hit on are going to be pretty good.
For sure. You find it fascinating how the Padres and Preller and Chris Kemp seem to stockpile these prospects, build value with them, and then kind of just move them on to someone else. And I mean, that's a pretty good recipe to have as far as investing in the future, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I again, if I'm a Padres fan, I'm thrilled that these guys are always looking to upgrade the big league team, and it feels like I mean this as a compliment. I think the Padres have this arrogance about, like, or you could say confidence, but I mean arrogance in a good way, that there's always another international period. There's always another draft.
Yeah.
We're going to go find more good prospects.
Yeah.
So if we want to trade Leo DeVries for Mason Miller, we'll do that, because we'll just go get, like, you may not get Leo DeVries every year, but we'll just go get more guys next year, and we'll be able to do that. And, you know, I also say it's an interesting strategy too, because I like prospects as much as the next guy. But if you look at the track record on prospects or how much they hit, there's a lot of risk, and a lot of these guys don't pan out. I mean, the Juan Soto trade with the Nationals is unusual in that most of those prospects did pan out. Usually, if you trade 5 prospects in a deal, if 2 of them are as good as or close to as good as you hope, you're doing pretty well. And so I think there's that attitude too. Yeah, we might give up some good players, but like some of these guys we give up, you know, aren't going to pan out because they're prospects, and we'll take the big leaguers and we know what we're getting. And, you know, they're obviously in contention mode and going for it every year. And it makes a lot of sense. And like, again, it would be cool to be a Padres fan, because like I said, you could wake up literally every day. Like I can't think of a trade that you'd be like, if you like anything's possible. Like AJ is probably up at 3 a.m. Yeah. I mentioned Aaron Judge kind of facetiously, but I'm sure that AJ at some point in his mind has tried to come up with, like, what combination could I come up with to get Aaron Judge from the Yankees? Like, you know, type of thing. Like there's nothing he's not, like, he's bold enough to try anything, get creative. And like I said, it's that arrogance. And again, I mean that as a compliment, that there's always another draft, there's always another international period, so they can just go find more good players next year to replenish what they trade.
Exactly. You know, he's in the last year of his contract, and I find it really fascinating that they haven't extended him yet. I mean, he creates excitement for this franchise, whether or not they win or not, and that's something that can't be replicated with just some generic general manager that you bring in.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he's been through, I mean, a number of, you know, when he came in, they were going to win right away, and that didn't work, and then they rebuilt, and then like there've been some ups and downs. But they've also had some extended success. I mean, I don't think the franchise has ever been healthier than it is right now. Like, there's a lot of fan interest because the team keeps going to playoffs. Yeah. I mean, it's like, is he aggressive? Does he spend a lot of money? Sure. But again, I mean, you don't have a World Series to show for it. Only one team gets that. And again, I think there is some measure of luck to win. I mean, we're talking about the Dodgers. Blue Jays easily could have won that World Series last year.
Yeah,
they were very close.
Right.
You know, so like, and then we aren't talking about the Dodgers being unbeatable if maybe that happens.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's hard to judge success solely by World Series championships. I just look at the Padres sustaining success and having as much fan interest sustained as they've ever had. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. In closing, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Craig Stammen hire. I know that kind of came out of the blue. You know, major league veteran pitcher, not any kind of managerial experience. What did you think about the Stammen hire?
Yeah, I'll admit, I mean, I don't know much about him other than his major league career as a pitcher. But again, I think if you're hiring a manager, probably like it's not like it was back in the day where the manager need to be, you know, like Earl Weaver would be the manager you want, you know, like this great tactician. Like everybody kind of knows tactics and data and, you know, seeking advantages. And, you know, I think the front offices obviously have a lot of input into how games are run and how teams, you know, how the manager handles the team in terms of like what you're doing on the field. So like, to me, the most important attribute of a manager is being able to communicate with people and having an open mind and being receptive to new ideas and being able to learn. And again, I don't have any idea how Craig Stammen scores on those, but that's how, like, I know he didn't have experience as a manager, so it kind of caught people off guard. But if he's got those traits, you know, it's kind of like Tony Vitello, who I do know from covering college baseball and working with him on the draft MLB Network. The Giants, I mean, that's off the beaten path too. Hired a college coach with experience. And again, like, I know there's some knee-jerk reactions like, oh, this is crazy. Like, this isn't rah-rah. Well, Tony's not going to bring what worked at Tennessee. They're not going to have like the fur coat they put on Rafael Devers when he hits a home run. Like they're not doing that. Like and like I know Tony, and Tony connects with people very, very well, and he knows baseball.
Yes.
And I assume that, again, I don't know Craig Stammen, that he probably has those attributes. And I don't think you have to hire every manager does not have to be a former big leaguer who managed in the minors for 5 or 6 years. Like,
right.
It doesn't have to be the path.
It's the game's evolving. I mean, the business aspect is really important now, and it's about, like you say, managing personalities more than anything at this point, right?
Yeah, because again, like you aren't hiring a manager because like Craig Stammen, has some secret method of poking performance out of pitchers,
right.
or he's like really good at putting the hit and run on. Like all that stuff is much more of a group decision back in the day than when Earl Weaver, had his index cards and he was kind of ahead of the game and understanding how how effective platooning players were and various things. Like there's no secrets with that stuff anymore. And so you're not looking to hire the manager who's tactically superior. Like you want your guy to be able to run a game and, especially when you're in the postseason, not like make a bad move. Right. But again, I think it's being able to communicate with the players to get the most out of your players, to maximize performance. And without knowing Craig Stammen, I'm assuming that he has those attributes, and that's what endeared him to the Padres. Because otherwise, I don't know why you would hire somebody who didn't have managerial experience.
For sure. And I mean, dealing with the media is a lot too. Could you imagine Earl Weaver 162 games with media in front of him all the time? I mean, he would have gone postal eventually, right? With the amount of
maybe, but he was a pretty smart guy too. Like I think he saved the postal for the umpires. I think Earl Weaver would have been a very successful manager in any era. Like maybe it might be a little bit different now, where like you can't spar with Jim Palmer like he did back in the day. Like maybe it'd be a little bit more sensitive because the money's gotten bigger. But I do think Earl would have been successful. I don't think Earl would have been going off on the media that much. I think he still had contempt for the umpires, but I think he would have handled the media. Like there'd be more media, but I think he would have handled it fine.
Yeah. Again, it's about dealing with personalities, and he was capable of doing that. Jim, thank you so much for your time. As always, man, I appreciate you coming on and sending some love to us.
Oh yeah, no, I enjoy the podcast. I always ask good questions. And like I said, I mean, I say this every time I do anybody's Padres related radio show or podcast. I think it's a pretty cool time to be a Padres fan because again, you have an aggressive front office. The team's winning consistently. Ballpark's hopping. Like that's one of the best ballpark experiences anywhere in Major League Baseball. San Diego, obviously one of the best cities you can live in anywhere. And I mean, again, I know it hurts. They were this close in 2024 to putting the Dodgers away, and they probably win the World Series if that happens. So like one of these years, if they keep getting to playoffs like they have been, it's going to happen one of these years.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. And as an older Padre fan like myself, I am very content. But some of the younger fans are just they want that World Series title, and they can taste it. But it takes time. It's not as easy as it is as they make it out to be.
Well, I didn't grow up in Chicago. I live in Chicago, but I didn't grow up here, so I wasn't a Cubs fan. But like Cubs fans had to wait 108 years to win a World Series. So. Like I know the Padres, it's been what we're going on year 57 now. Yeah. So like, which is a long time. But like, go talk to Guardians fans; they've had it worse. So
right.
But then again, I do sincerely mean it. I think the Padres are a fun team to root for. And again, if you're a Padres fan, like it's pretty cool. Like your GM's pulling out like AG is probably sleeping 2 hours a night, thinking of whatever he can to try to get the Padres over the top.
Right. And that's what you want from your general managers, that he's just always thinking about your team, always looking to improve it. And he definitely does that. And like I say, re-sign the man, give him a contract. I mean, come on, Padres, let's go. Let's just, he provides excitement for the city and for the team. And there's just, he needs to be re-signed.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Well, hopefully that'll happen.
All right, Jim. Well, thank you so much again for your time. We appreciate you very much. MLB Pipeline senior writer, Jim Callis. Check out the MLB Top 100. The lists are slowly coming out per team in the coming weeks. Correct, Jim? Yeah,
we should have them all out early March.
Okay, so. Awesome. It's a great time of the year. Baseball's in the air. We only got one more football game, and baseball season's here. WBC. It's going to be a great time for Padre fans and for baseball fans.
Spring breakout too. We got the spring breakout games again.
Yes. Yes.
where you'll see the best Padres prospect. I don't know off the top of my head who they're playing, but yeah, no, you got college baseball is, I think, 2+ weeks away as we record this.
Right.
Then that means that's route run pitchers and catchers report, and then we got the WBC and spring training games and spring breakout, and like season's not too far away. So yeah, it's a great time of year.
For sure. Again, Jim, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Have a good one, man.
Okay, thanks, James. Take care.
Thank you.